Hello everyone, this is Joanna. Thank you so much for coming back. These are going to be your messages for the month of August. I am doing them very differently than I have done them up until this point, so they will resemble more of the mid-July reading, where most of my information will be channeled. I'm not using any traditional tarot cards. I'm using only one card from John Holland's deck and one card for food for thought from Colette Reed's. Everything else is this deck here, which I didn't study, so I just look at pictures and then I hear what I'm to say. Of course, for more long-term projections, there are a lot of videos that I published not that long ago. That information is down below. So there is a 6-month video for each sign on Vimeo from July until the end of the year, and of course there is the Uranus 7-year projection, which has a much longer projection to show you what to expect over the next 7 years. So that information is down below. Of course, these are general readings, so they will not apply to everybody. Listen to your other signs. These may offer you greater picture, and more than anything, thank you so much for liking, for sharing, for subscribing, for private sessions. That information is down below. Thank you so much once again. Please do comment. I love hearing your comments. And without further ado, let's start off with the readings. Hello, beautiful Scorpios. These are going to be your messages for this month of August 2018. I'm going to turn down my music. I'd like to tune in to the energy first and get some channeled information out. The understanding of the why we do things, why you do things, why you pursue certain things, why you stay clear of certain things, what drives you, is very important in the month of August. Because the month of August seems to have a rippling effect, energetically speaking, there may be some bumps on the roads that will be manifested in order to help you recognize certain blocks or patterns within you. These are seems to be around relationships, but I always say we have relationships not just with our loved ones, but with other people, co-workers, but most importantly within ourselves. And the blocks about relationships often prevent us from reaching the very desires that we are trying to accomplish, whether it be relationship, partnership, a great business deal, a partner. I already said that. There's a heightened level of awareness that will transpire or is about to transpire, has the potential to transpire, if you want to learn, through the month of August. Energetically speaking, I've told this other signs, the August energies are very palatable, something to do with the energetic outline, or with the planetary constellations, planetary alignment that will manifest itself in various situations that we need to handle in the month of August. Partnerships and relationships seems to be the theme, not only as I'm getting this information, but you actually have this as a theme card. Resisting change is no longer necessary, nor is it adequate. What is being meant by this? If you have been choosing to be a status quo, either in a relationship that doesn't work, in a work that doesn't work, feeling certain way about you in a relationship, and that's based on your fears. Staying in status quo is no longer relevant to who you are becoming, but it's all no longer adequate to sustain your long-term goals, particularly with partnerships and relationships. So as a theme card, you have the Two of Cups, which is the typical relationship card. So what does this mean? Month of August, for most of you, is going to be concentrated around the idea of relating to yourself, relating to you to a partner, your idea of relationship, coming together with people to form partnerships. The idea of relating and relationship is being highlighted for the month of August. I mean, it's always important, but somehow for the month of August, it's very important. There seems to be an idea for many of you that love is not safe, or you have some constricted beliefs around love that are not coinciding with feeling safe. So in other terms, or to plainly say it, many of you believe that love hurts, and therefore your life choices and situations have been based on that belief, and your life will often reflect that belief in your life as a partner, as a friend, as a parent, you relating to friends, anything. When we have a fundamental belief that love hurts, that will absolutely change the way, shift the way we do things and the way we look at things, particularly when it comes to relating to people. So for those of you who are singles and you come from the idea that love hurts, the month of August may offer you an opportunity to shift and change those beliefs about yourself and also about your potential partner. So that's so to keep going on that, it is for many of you fundamentally stemming from the inadequacies that you uphold yourself to. And when I say it that way, it's things about yourself that are fear-based, that you have been clinging on to for however long, typically for most of our lives. So that is the theme. Relating and relationships seems to be the theme for the month of August for you guys. Now, what are you leaving behind? Brilliant. You have survival fears. So what are we leaving behind? What are survival fears? Survival fears are anything that make you believe you need to avoid in order to survive. So, example could be, if your belief is that you need to avoid a certain type of an individual because that type of individual, typically it coincides with being hurt, you will be close to a lot of opportunities in your life based on that idea. So fears we understand, survival we understand, whatever your fears are, and they will come up in the month of August, and for some of you in September, you will be able to clearly see what are some of the things that have been holding you back with regards to relationships. For some of you, it's the good old fear of not being good enough, and we hold ourselves responsible or we hold ourselves in a place of not feeling good enough for a gazillion reasons. Your eyes is the wrong color. Your weight is too small or too high or too low. You're too thick or too thin. You're too tall or too short. You're too freckled or not freckled enough. You don't write as good as somebody else. I mean, there is literally gazillion reasons we have for not feeling good enough. The problem with that is that that's all in our mind. And yes, although it has been learned through some circumstances, those circumstances are long gone. Therefore, they're no longer in our life. So the belief system, as long as it is not affecting us positively, should in fact be also left behind. So any fears around relationships, any fears around not being good enough. And this is also when it comes to abundance. If you feel you are not good enough deep inside, you will more likely than not block yourself from receiving abundance from life. And abundance is not just financial, although that is typically what we humans think of. Abundance is health, relationship, love in your life, happiness, the beauty around you. Friendships, obviously physical things like money and jobs and things like that. So abundance is a lot. But if you hold yourself back because you feel you're not good enough, you will hold yourself away from attracting abundance. Or if you attract it, your belief system is going to kick in and you're going to say, no, that's good enough. I can't believe this is for me. This cannot be. And you'll generally just reject it. So issues of rejections may come up for you in the month of August. Issues around abandonment may also surface its ugly head to the surface. When that happens for those of you, and this can creep up in you being at work and somebody says something to you and it hurts your feelings, and it hurts you just as bad as it hurt when you were rejected when you were 5 years old. But that's a good time for you to observe and go, okay, what is this really, what's really showing up in me that feels this? And notice your attachment to your past. So you are letting go, or you are to let go of attachments that are fear-based, that in many ways helped you survive who you are, but that survival mechanism is no longer adequate in order to help you achieve what it is that you desire. And my belief is that you probably desire something more than what you have in certain areas of your life, particularly when it comes to relationships. For some of you, not for all of you. You may have relationships with your loved ones that is based on fear. In other words, you may be surrounded by people who take advantage of you, who treat you with disrespect, but because you have this fear of abandonment, you choose not to say anything about it because you're afraid that if that happens, you're going to lose them. Here's the thing. If being around certain people makes you feel not good, why continue being around that where it's probably not going to change? So again, it's looking at what is the bigger issue inside of you that is keeping you there in the first place, addressing that, healing it by looking at your past, however you want to do it, therapy, however you want to do it, inner child work, shadow work, and then move on. So month of August, some things will creep up to the surface for some of you. You also have long-term goals. And when I look at this card, number 1, 4 and 5 is 9. So in order to solidify the seeds for long-term goals, or in order to plant seeds and have long-term goals, you have to let go of some of the attachments that have prevented you from acquiring it in the first place. So one of those things, or some of those things, will be your fears. It is also about creating mental image of what you want to achieve with a corresponding feeling that allows you to have something to look forward to. So how do we build things? Everything starts with a thought. If your fundamental idea of relationship is that they suck, that seed is going to grow into something big long term. So you have to rethink of the idea of, or reshape your idea of relationships if you want a good relationship. Same goes with abundance. If you are stuck in an environment or in a low-paying job and you've had to deal with this for most of your life, you need to look at your belief system and ask yourself, is there something within me that makes me believe I am inadequate or unable to attract something more? Chances are that is your belief system. And although it not maybe something logic or conscious for the most part, when you look at your life and you notice certain behaviors and certain consistencies with regards to, as an example, attracting low-paying jobs, then you have to start with asking the question, what is it that I really fundamentally feel about me? Because everything that you feel about you, subconsciously speaking, will create a corresponding result down the road. And because we're moving into energies that are very fast and apparently furious, we will have a tendency to attract to ourselves the very things that we put our focus and attention to. So because the focus in August is about relationships and relating, for those of you who are looking for relationships or any type of relationships that you are struggling with, including one with yourself, you have to ask yourself, what are some of the fears about relationships, or what are some of the fears that I have about myself or inadequacies that are keeping me away from achieving that which I want? You also have sharing cultural ideas. So this is very interesting because for some of you, this symbolizes healing. And what do I mean by this? For some of you, you might be in a therapist position or a position like a therapist where you exchange ideas in order to help people overcome their own problems. Some of you are going through this fear-based stuff in order to understand things on your own skin, so that then you are able to, down the road, help others figure out their own fears. And I always say the best therapists are those who have experienced pain on their own skin, because if you are trying to convey a message that does not have a fundamental rooting in an experience, it never is as palatable, it's never as rich. So that's one aspect. And I'm not saying all of you are healers, and healer is such a loose word for me. I mean, you can be working in, Tim Hortons, and you can say a word to somebody that changes their life. You're a healer. So don't let the word healer kind of peg you in a corner. For some of you, you might be faced with situations where you find yourself either in an institution or in an organization or in a company of somebody that is very different than you, somebody with very different beliefs. Your job in this situation is to be true to yourself and accept other people's beliefs, but don't necessarily let their beliefs be yours if in fact that's not who you are. So it's about healthy boundaries. So when it comes to relationships and relating, well, that's rule number one. Having healthy boundaries is very important. It often becomes a very treacherous situation for people, because oftentimes, particularly in relationships, a person loses themselves to a relationship. So for some of you, you may have in the past become the proverbial doormat, where in order to keep a relationship, because of your fears of abandonment, for example, were so great that you just did whatever you could in order to keep a person near you, because your fear of abandonment was much higher than your discomfort in a relationship. Now, that implies that you lost your boundaries, or you didn't have boundaries in the first place. So there's a message here for creating healthy boundaries in relationships, whether this be relationship with a partner, with a friend, with a coworker, with your boss, or relationship with yourself. Having respect for yourself. When we have respect for ourselves, we will naturally tend to attract people who have respect for us. It's the basis of law of attraction. You attract what you believe yourself to be. So boundaries are being signified here. There is no point clinging to your shortcomings and trying to overcompensate for that with something else. Shortcomings are nothing more than vehicles for us to gain certain knowledge about ourselves. If one of your shortcomings is that you tend to run away from something that's good for you, rather than overcompensating for it in some way, shape, or form, acknowledge that it's there in the first place, because when you acknowledge that it's there, it's the first step towards gaining more confidence about you. In other words, when we live in denial, we can't fundamentally shift in a different direction, because whatever we're denying exists, keeps us stuck. So overcompensating for your shortcomings, for those of you who have been doing that, whether it's because you're too nice, you're overgiving, you're over-accommodating, whatever that is, it is obviously not a great idea to do that on a regular basis. That does not mean there is no room for compromise. It doesn't mean that at all, but it does mean that if you continually bash your head against the wall and things are not working, and you keep doing the same thing over and over in your life, chances are that you have some sort of screwed up belief system, pardon me for my French, that is making you believe that this is the way it should be. So it's time to shift your beliefs, which are, many of them are based on our fears. Now, food for thought. You have the card Imagine. Everything starts with a thought. Sometimes we have thoughts we are not even aware of. This is about you imagining, as the card signifies, imagining the best scenario of yourself, the best case scenario of what you're trying to accomplish. Generally, as human beings, we go to the worst case scenario first. It is just how we live. It it seems to be our ways of existing. We do live in a very dense energy that is based a lot in fear, and that is what we have a tendency to go to first. But always remember, anything that you do is something that you have been trained to do over time. It is not something you were born with. And I don't care how many lifetimes you've had with a similar lesson, something in this lifetime always triggers it into existence. So all you have to do is face your fears from this lifetime, and all the other attachments from other lifetimes take care of themselves. Now, you're born with only two fears: fear of falling and fear of loud noises. Everything else is learned. So if you have learned to believe certain things about you, you can also learn different things about you. But that requires you to commit to yourself first and foremost and fully. And this is also the commitment to yourself that I was talking about. If you do not have a commitment to yourself first and foremost, you'll always struggle. And you'll struggle because you'll always end up feeling like you are on the short end of the stick when it comes to receiving. In order to allow the universe to give to us, we first have to allow ourselves to receive. And when we fundamentally don't know how to do that, because either we felt hurt and we closed ourselves off, or we've grown up in an environment where it's just wasn't enough, so we learned it's just not enough. Chances are, if I'm talking to you, you do have difficulty with receiving. So it's time to imagine what it would be like to feel when you receive everything that you want. Now, you're between two worlds. There is no question about it. You are shifting and you are changing. With this card being in protection position is asking you to think of something. And this something is this: yes, things are changing, but let go of your preconceived ideas of how things should be. In other words, lose your limitations that you have as far as the definition of how things should be. If you are searching for love, if you are searching for abundance, if you are searching for happiness, you need to be able to cultivate that feeling within you first. You have the Lover's card. The Lover's card is, well, the lovers, but it's also about the yin and yang and total inner harmony. So it is about finding a space within you that feels loving and harmonious. When we come from a place of fear, our predominant energy is residing in a low vibration of fear. When we choose to experiment with things and activities that make us feel good. For example, going out dancing, painting, going out enjoying company of a friend, going out to the movie and having popcorn by yourself, meditating and imagining feeling absolutely blissed out. Those are some of the things that you can do on a regular basis that can cultivate the feeling of abundance within. And because you attract what you believe, and what you believe creates a certain resonance or certain energy or emits certain energy, when you feel blissed out, that energy emitted from you will eventually attract corresponding energy to you. So that's why August is so important, because a lot of your shortcomings and a lot of your fears will come up to the surface in order to be let go of, so that you can plant seeds, proper seeds for long-term goals, and let go of things that no longer serve you. Chaos and conflict is a message about changing direction. So if there is something in your life that seems to all of a sudden change direction, don't panic. Chances are it's because you're not supposed to be there anymore. For some of you, you may feel like you are at odds with somebody else, or you're on a different page. It may mean that the relationship you have been in now, up until this point, is no longer serving. This is also speaking to you about you relating with yourself. Certain situations will come up in the month of August where it will be very much in your face to show you how being hard on yourself doesn't really serve you. Now, we are all hard on ourselves, and it's understandable. It's a degree to which, we beat ourselves up. But striving for something better and being hard on yourself is not really the same thing. So I'm not saying don't strive to be better, but beating yourself up over and over does not fulfill that purpose. If anything else, it takes you far, far away from reaching that purpose. So what this is saying here is if there's a conflict in your life, it is because it's trying to show you something really important. Don't shy away from it. Let the pieces fall where they will. For some of you, this signifies a move, and I think I might have talked about that in other months with you, about move. Some of you may be moving residents. So that's what they're talking about. For some of you, there might be some reshuffling happening in your work. And if that's the case, don't panic. Just accept what's happening, do whatever needs to be done, but let the pieces fall where they will. Perhaps you're no longer meant to be there. Perhaps your new way of relating to yourself is pushing you to something much greater, and you might have to take a chance on, which also signifies letting go of your fears, or at least facing your fears. And last but not least, you have truth to behold. Hold to your truth to be told. This is a time where transparency with yourself is of utmost importance. If we ignore the things that keep us down, if we choose to not be honest with ourselves, it only hurts us. So I feel the month of August is also a month of taking an inventory of our life, an inventory of how things have been, what are some of the things that we have contributed to those things that didn't work out, taking an inventory, taking a very clear look at what defines you and what you choose to no longer define you. So this is a total shift of thinking, and that doesn't happen overnight. Remember, most of you that I'm speaking with have a belief system around safety and love. Many of you believe that it's not safe to love. Many of you believe that you are not lovable. Many of you believe that you can't have safety and blissed out feeling at the same time. Many of you believe that you fundamentally cannot be financially solid because of your screwed up belief system. It's time to take inventory of what serves you and what doesn't serve you. In time, you'll have to make some choices and decisions, and you'll have to let some things go. Is it going to be in August? Possibly. For some of you, it's in October. But generally speaking, the month of August seems to be about commitment to yourself and perhaps commitment to somebody else. Number 9 is shown to me as letting go. Time of letting go in order to plant new seeds. And then I think I have to wrap it up. I hope this was helpful. Some of you, I see money being dropped to your piggy bank. So some of you may be getting some money. You might be getting an inheritance. You might be getting unexpected raise. Somebody may give you a gift of money. There seems to be something unexpected. So some of you, there's abundance coming in. Whether it's in August or down the road, I don't know. But it seems to be connected to your shift of perception about you. And that's when we shift that, everything shifts. Thank you so much for liking, for sharing, for listening. This makes no sense to me other than the general idea. If it does make sense to you, I would love to hear your comment. Of course, this may not make any sense to you. Hopefully it will at the end of the month, which they always do. And sometimes these little things make sense some places, but other things may not. So just kind of keep in mind this is general. Listen to your other signs as well. Your rising and moon sign, they also may offer you much more clarity. And of course, for personal sessions, that information is down below. I wish you best of luck. It sounds like an exciting month. Good luck to all of you, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.